This right here is the MSI Prestige 14 Flip AI Plus. Wow, it's a very short name, but here's the thing guys, this laptop is genuinely interesting. At its core, this is a premium tiered business and productivity laptop by MSI, and unlike typical business laptops, which tend to be very utilitarian design, this is a very beautiful piece of hardware, and it's a very different approach when you think about business and productivity machines. And not only that, this generation has been refreshed with the latest Panther Lake technology, which means we get Intel's Core Ultra 9 Series 3 processor. We also have 32 gigabytes of LPDDR5X memory. We do get Intel's integrated graphics, a large 1 terabyte solid state drive. Furthermore, we do have Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth version 6. And of course, I should mention, this is a 14-inch OLED display. Now look, this laptop is basically designed to give you the sleekness that comes with a lot of high-end consumer tier laptops, but also the utility that comes with a typical business laptop. And we're gonna see if MSI kind of scored that balance right, what this laptop got right, what you might want to consider before getting it, and everything in between. So let's get right into it. I pretty much get fooled every single time into thinking get a very basic box for such a premium laptop, but I'm wrong every single time because inside these boxes usually is a much more fancier box, and ta-da, here it is. Now of course, inside this fancy box, behind some protective packaging, here it is, the MSI Prestige 14 Flip AI Plus. And this is a stunning laptop, but more on that in just a quick minute. We also do get a 65 watt charging adapter over here, pretty standard stuff, and it is a Type-C powered adapter. Furthermore, we do have the wall outlet charging cable piece, which is good for extendability. We do get some basic documentation to get you started. And of course, we also do get the MSI Nano Pen over here, which is basically the stylus built for this laptop. In terms of design, it's kind of obvious that slimness and sleekness was kind of the priority with this machine. MSI wanted to make this thing as, I guess, nimble as possible, and they've definitely accomplished that. I mean, you've got a clean look with this laptop, a full metal body end to end, which again emphasizes that this is a premium tiered business laptop. I love the gray color tone. It just goes really nice with this machine, and I absolutely am a fan of that MSI branding over here this year. I love the more minimalist approach with that chroma silver going on here. Great stuff. Now, it is a bit of a fingerprint magnet, but it's not too dramatic. It's also worth noting you have a total weight of about 3.02 pounds, and that is definitely on the lighter side for a convertible machine, which means if you're a daily commuter, you'll definitely appreciate that. In terms of I/O ports, the selection is modest but fair. So on one side, you've got a HDMI 2.1 port. You do have two Thunderbolt 4 ports, both of which of course are Type-C and support power delivery as well as DisplayPort functionality. On the other side, you have two USB-A super speed ports and a headphone jack. The only thing that would have been a nice to have here is the inclusion of an SD card reader, but keep in mind this is a business laptop, not a creator's laptop. So again, it's a nice to have, not necessarily something that's required on a machine like this. The bottom side of the laptop at first glance seems pretty simple. I mean, you've got a removable metal lid over here basically, and then you'll also notice you have a mid-size air intake vent, though interestingly enough, both the fans are actually on the right side, so only about half of this is truly being used for air intake and output, which is fine, it's still effective, but it's an interesting take. Now, it's also worth noting you do have two speaker grills, one on either side, so this is a bottom firing speaker system. We'll do a sound test later on, don't worry. And finally, one of my favorite things about this laptop is that they've actually put a mechanical function to store the MSI Nano Pen when you're not using it. It clicks right into place. It's easy to remove through a simple tap swipe. It just pops right up, and it also actually charges while it's stationed over here. A lot of manufacturers get lazy with this and just put like a magnet somewhere on the sides. That's not a very practical solution. Over here, you don't have to worry about it dropping off or forgetting to charge it. It's just so intuitive. When you unfold this laptop, there is a surprising amount of space here for a 14-inch laptop. It might just be optical illusions because of the choice of color, but nonetheless, a good amount of palm rest space is always a good thing. Now at the center, you do have a glass surface trackpad with a good amount of surf real estate. The result is that, well, it feels like a good trackpad. It's tactile, there's no flex, and it just feels really nice to use. Also, they do have this function called the action touchpad. So basically you have these customizable gestures on each of the corner of the actual trackpad. And again, you can do stuff like adjust the volume, the brightness, open up the calculator app, or do whatever you want again through the command center, and it just adds another layer of functionality. If you think the trackpad is impressive, the keyboard is on a whole other level. Guys, seriously, you've got nice large keycaps, the font is easy to read, the backlighting is pretty strong. However, what really stands out to me is the typing quality. I mean, you have a good amount of key travel for such a slim laptop. There's a good degree of tactility. And look, with business laptops, having a good keyboard is fundamental because you're typing a ton of stuff and you get that over here. It's also worth noting you do have a built-in fingerprint sensor, which of course doubles as the power button. When it comes to the hinge mechanism, I get really nervous with convertible laptops because having a bad hinge mechanism on those kind of machines is like having bad shocks on an off-roading vehicle. It almost never ends well. Fortunately, MSI has done a bang-up job over here at including high-quality hinges. It's a two-tier hinge mechanism, and there's very little wobble. It's tightly tuned, it doesn't feel excessively tight, and you can do a complete 360 without putting any force on the main body, all which are good signs for a healthy hinge system that'll last for the years to come. Now, as far as display fitting is concerned, it is a premium laptop, so you have a fully glass encased finishing, so it's flush end to end. You do have a bit of a noticeable chin at the bottom, but honestly, nothing too dramatic. The side bezels are nice and narrow, which is good for an immersive view. And then you do have a moderately small sized forehead at the top, at the center of which you have a full HD IR equipped webcam. It's not the sharpest webcam out there, but it's pretty good, and it comes with a privacy shutter as well, of course. The display here is actually quite stunning. However, there are a couple of caveats to keep in mind. So in terms of the specifications, we get a mid-size 14-inch display here with a beautiful OLED panel, a full HD plus resolution, 16:10 aspect ratio. However, the refresh rate unfortunately is capped at 60 Hz. It would have been nice to get a 120 Hz display in this premium category. With that said, we do have a typical brightness of 300 nits. Now, it's also worth noting that you do have a glossy finish over here, and this is a touch captive display, obviously, which works both with your fingers and the Nano Pan as well. Now, as far as the actual touch captivity goes, it is a very touch sensitive display, which is a good thing. And the MSI Nano Pan, by the way, is one of the smoothest styluses I've actually used. It's extremely responsive, but it also has this very human feel where it's not excessively sensitive. So, you know, when you're kind of going on something and trying to draw something or highlight something, it genuinely has a very good pinpoint, and it makes it a practical tool to use. In terms of color accuracy, that's where the display really shines. You get a 100% DCI-P3 color gamut coverage, which means everything from general media to documents to text looks super sharp and super vivid in terms of colors. And you can also use it for creative purposes like photo or video editing. A quick rundown of the technical specifications for this model. We do have Intel's Core Ultra 9 386H processor, which is of course part of the Panther Lake lineup. We do get 32 gigabytes of LPDDR5X memory. We do have Intel standard integrated graphics, and we do have a 1 terabyte SSD over here. The fact is, with a processor so powerful, this machine might be nimble, but it is an absolute beast with top tier flagship level performance. General productivity, whether it's surfing the web, crunching Word documents, or working on spreadsheets, is going to feel fast and fluid. If you're doing programming and code compilation, you'll be happy to know you can do all the programming to your heart's content. You have plenty of memory over here, and that Core Ultra 9 will just absolutely decimate everything. Even if you're doing 3D modeling on a machine like this, you'll find despite not having a discrete GPU or the more powerful Intel Arc graphics, you get some phenomenal performance. We're able to stack up multiple assets without any issues. And by the way, one of the best things about this processor is that it works almost as well on battery as it does plugged in, so you don't have to worry about performance drops. And you can even do multi-layer 4K video editing over here. We were able to stack about 3 to 4 layers before we noticed any sort of real frame drops, and that's with effects and color grading built in. So again, a very powerful experience, and render times were equally as fast. Now, while this is a business and productivity laptop, if you're taking a quick break and gaming occasionally, you'll be happy to know that games like Counter-Strike Go 2 can easily hit north of 60 frames per second at high settings at the native resolution and provide for a pretty reasonable casual gaming experience. Now look, there's no sugarcoating the fact that when you have such powerful hardware in such a slim body, you are inevitably going to have higher than normal thermals, at least in some capacity, but the numbers aren't nearly as dramatic as I thought they would be. We found with an unrealistic stress test for over 30 minutes, the upper 1/3 area hit an average surface temperature of 44 degrees Celsius. Granted, this is a pretty warm number, but a more realistic sustained load test yielded us a number of 40 degrees Celsius, which is only 2 2 degrees warmer than the typical 14-inch business laptop. Now, with that said, the fan noise definitely surprised me in a great way. This is an extremely quiet laptop. So we found even under the highest stress test, the peak loads only hit a number of around 40 decibels, which is a very reasonable number. And most of the times you cannot hear the fan, even when you are doing some pretty demanding stuff. For the most part, that works in the favor of the laptop. And in a business laptop, you actually want a laptop that's not too noisy because you don't want to disturb the people around you. So yeah, pretty good stuff overall. In terms of self-upgradability, you are able to actually replace the existing M.2 drive over here for a higher capacity one, but memory as well as the connectivity module are soldered on board. MSI has blessed this laptop with a nice large 81 watt-hour battery. The result is that you can get up to 17.5 hours of real-world usage based on our general productivity test, which is well above the average for most typical Core Ultra 9 equipped laptops. And the fact is that this kind of efficiency gives you the confidence you can actually use this machine for prolonged periods without worrying about charging it up. Now, as far as the speaker system is concerned, it's not the most robust speaker system out there, but there's a good degree of clarity and a good degree of volume. Here's a sound test for reference. So where does that leave us? Well, here's the thing. The MSI Prestige 14 Flip AI Plus has a very unique approach to business and productivity. Typically, business laptops have a more utilitarian approach where they're often willing to forego portability. However, MSI has taken this from a different lens. They've basically maximized the nimbleness and portability of this machine and then built everything up from that. So what I mean by that is that the form factor of this machine is designed so it can be taken almost anywhere, whether it's business and productivity at an office table or it's somewhere on the go. You get a lot of versatility that's often lacking with a lot of the competition, but the compromises aren't as dramatic and often it ends up kind of retaining the features of a typical business laptop. I mean, you get fantastic battery life, better than actually a lot of other business laptops. You also have a great display. Port selection, while not the most robust, is fair in my honest opinion. You have a great keyboard and an equally impressive trackpad. The build quality and design is durable. You get 2-in-1 functionality, of course, with that flip display. And might I add, the Nano Stylus really does, or the MSI Nano Pen, I believe is the exact name for it, really does a great job at captivating that touch display and bringing the most out of it. Overall, I think this is a fantastic laptop for anyone who has a strong preference for having a machine that's just easy to carry around, is lightweighted, but doesn't compromise on premium features or performance. If that's what you're looking for, I can wholeheartedly recommend this machine for you. Let me know what you think of this laptop if you already own it, and I will of course have links in the video description below for your reference. And as always guys, if you enjoyed the content, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. It means the world to me and genuinely helps us grow. I'll catch you in the next one.